Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich, who's actually been the Capitol reporter for over 30 years.
Yep, and I've survived, and I'm here to tell you about it. So anyway, I've seen a lot of senators come and go in that time, but we have a senator here today who is solidly in the Senate, Jesse Hamilton from Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Yes.
Welcome to the Jewish View.
And thank you, Mark, and thank you for having 30 years of being on the show, being an advocate.
No,
Over 30 years.
Over at the Capitol as a reporter, 38 years. I served 38 State of the State messages.
38?
Yeah.
You look like you're older than 45.
No,
So you were like a child reporter, huh?
You know, Jesse,
Teen News.
Jesse, as Mark said, you are the senator from Crown Heights, and the
Yes, Rabbi
Lubavitch
Simon.
headquarters is 770 Eastern Parkway, even though I'm in the Capital District, and there's literally Lubavitches literally around the world, but all our hearts are in 770 Eastern Parkway.
Right,
So you're
right,
really the
right.
center of the whole Lubavitch movement.
Lubavitch movement, yes.
Yeah, but recently you've been honored by the Crown Heights, be more specific there in the community. So tell us about what that is and what was happening there.
I was so fortunate to, be in Crown Heights, and I ran for the school board, and there were 4 Orthodox Jewish men who voted me in as president.
Really?
And so, Mordecai Eckhouse, Stuart Bauberg, Rabbi Abraham Flint, and Wagshaw. So they said, they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and those 4 Jewish men made me the president of the school board. And going to Shalom Zucca, and recently going to Israel with David Greenfield, and meeting so many Lubavitch people in Israel. I didn't know that Shalom Zucca would be such an important thing to do, but in Crown Heights, it's like a family. And you don't realize the diversity and the camaraderie and everybody being as one. So going to Israel and then going to the Golden Heights,
really?
and then seeing the enemies at the borders of Israel made me realize that, I saw young kids from Flatbush who were joining the military, putting their lives on the line to protect the state of Israel.
Yeah.
And so when I came back home, I said, you know what? I can't support the Iranian deal. I have neighbors, their children, who are putting their lives on the line. You have enemies at all the borders. And how can I tell a mother, I'm not going to protect your child? So politically, people were saying, you shouldn't do it, whatever, with the president. I said, no, everything is local. And when I get up in the morning and I see a mother whose child is in Israel fighting, or I walk 2 blocks away and I see someone whose uncle is fighting in Israel, protecting Israel. I didn't see any fighting, protecting Israel. I could look him in the eye and say, you know what? I put your uncle, I put your child in harm's way. So I'm just happy to be a part of the Lubavitch community, a part of the Crown Heights community. And we have a great thing going on. So when I was honored, I felt that, we are a community and we're one. So, in a way, I said I shouldn't be honored for being part of a community, because as a community member, as a friend, friends take care of friends, and that's what I do.
You know what? I think that needs to be emphasized. You said it, but to emphasize that here you're a black person,
Right.
and here the Lubavitchers want you in, and you work together. Always the bad news will get a headline. If there's
Right.
one bad incident, it'll be the headline all over the place. But here, people working together, and I visit Crown Heights many times. I have 3
Right.
kids living there, and really, it's something very to be applauded. I think it's the best integrated neighborhood in the whole United States,
Right.
and really 99.99%. It's peaceful. All right, in any situation, there's going to be some kind of incident,
Right.
but that'll make the headline. That. But the 99.99 peaceful actions. Like working together, you don't see a story made up like that. So kudos to you.
Right. You have to lead by the example. If, for instance, if someone drew a swastika, the same day we take it off, get everybody to come together. We haven't had a swastika drawn, I don't think, in the last 15 years. But it's by having community involvement, community leaders coming together. With the Iranian deal, and I saw the Holocaust survivors with the tattoos on their arm. I was like, oh my God. They're carrying the tattoos from concentration camps. And if they can survive the concentration camps, why should we remind them of an Iranian deal that could put people at harm's way? So I had no problem being with Noach Deer, Simcha Felder, protesting in front of Jerry Lanell's office. And to this day, Jerry Lanell still gives me the business because, it was a protest in front of his office. But we're like, it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's not a Jewish thing. It's the right thing to do.
But you know what?
What?
Jerry Nadler told me something. He says, if my seat is in jeopardy, then everyone's seat around the country is in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
So you protesting in front of his office is water off a duck's back for him,
Mm-hmm.
because he feels so secure in his district that he's like, nah, go ahead, it's a safe place if you're going to protest to any elected official. His office is the safe one because he feels that there's no one who's ever going to
But
defeat
the
him.
message
you know,
was
as
made
long as-
over here. I think that's really, I
Right.
mean, you can sit back and do nothing and because say, well, nothing is going to help. But, you got to make a message and that it does have an effect somewhere. Maybe he's not, I didn't say he's not, I know Jerry Nadler also, not saying he shouldn't be reelected.
Right.
But at least, someone should stand up, hey, we're not going to take this.
We're not going to take this, and at the same, you are elected. You may be an incumbent, but at the same time, don't think that no one can ever, come to you or challenge you.
And say shame, shame.
And say shame, shame.
right,
And basically what Dove and I and some Further were doing, saying, look, shame, shame. This is not about, politics. It's about doing the right thing for the state of Israel.
Okay.
Excellent.
So now now you said there's bad news, there's good news. You talked about the good news on the.
Wait,
We talk about all
Right,
sorts of
right.
things. You had an explosive transformation from last year to this year in the legislature. I mean,
Right.
I look at the number of bills that you sponsored last year, and you only got like maybe one passed.
Right.
In the Senate. I don't know what happened to the bill in the Assembly, but
Right.
all of a sudden this year, you're sponsoring a lot more bills. You have a lot more bills that have already passed in the Senate and the Assembly. One of the bills is going to the governor's desk if it didn't go already.
Right.
I mean, you're having a great year so far. I know the answer, but
Right.
you tell me, what happened?
I come from a neighborhood, it's very diverse. I have a Sunset Park, I have Gowanus, Park Slope, Prospect Heights, Crown Heights, Flatbush, and Brownsville. Very diverse district. And I didn't get any bills passed when I was with the Central Democrats,
Mainline.
mainline Democrats.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? It's not about Republicans, it's not about Democrats, it's about getting things done. So I joined the IDC,
Which is the Independent
Democratic Conference.
Right.
I'm now the first person of color to be the chair of banks
Right.
in the Senate of New York State.
Really?
Yes.
I'm getting so many bills passed now. I'm getting funding and resources to my district, which we weren't getting before. And you have some schools in my district where only 15% of the kids are reading at grade level. We're implementing programs that have never been implemented before throughout the United States, the campus, where we have technology, $500,000 from the borough president. Wellness, psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers. The second leading cause of death for people of color from 15 to 35 is suicide.
Really?
Yeah, workforce development and financial literacy. So now we have kids who are learning how to code. And if you have a high school diploma and a certificate in coding, you can make $80,000 a year. So we're changing education. We're changing how we look at mental illness.
Right.
And we're trying to, we have 62 community-based organizations working together. No one ever integrated the community-based organizations
Right.
to work together. Be it the Crown Heights Jewish Council, be it SOS. We're saying, look, we're a community, and everybody has to work together to enhance the community, and that's what's happening now. So we're seeing a resurgence of community commitment, community involvement, but it's having the resources to put out there.
And it's because you made that switch from mainline Democrats to the IDC,
The
that
IDC.
really made that happen.
They really made that happen,
And I'm asking this just as I know the answer, but you didn't do it because of the stipend that you got chair of banks.
No, it wasn't. I'm an attorney, so you should take a pay cut coming to the Senate.
And the $12,500 that you get for chair of banks.
Right, and so
Is that what it is, or is
It's
it 18,000?
15,000.
15, okay.
And basically, I was getting 12,000 as I was the ranker
Banks.
of the banks, and I just went from the ranker
Okay.
to. So I was already
Sure.
in the banking, ranked number 2 person in banking for the state in the Senate. Now I'm the first person, so I'm not doing it for the money.
Right.
I'm doing it for, and I was also ranking for mental health. I'm doing it to make sure I leave a legacy of someone who was committed to the community
Okay.
for over 2 decades, and bringing the resources and watching kids flourish. Fighting for affordable housing in Crown Heights.
Right.
We have free land in the Armory,
Right.
and the mayor's giving us shelters and wants to sell $1 million condos. I have the Lubavitch community where people have 5 children, 6 children, and they can't afford to live in Crown Heights. Everybody's moving to Muncie now, Curious Joel, because the prices of the homes are too high. And we're saying, Mr. Mayor,
Right.
we stabilized this neighborhood. The Lubavitch community, the Caribbean community, African Americans, we stabilized Crown Heights, not to let somebody else come in and push us out, but for our children to live there and thrive. And what we're seeing now is a lot of the kids who grew up in the neighborhoods can't afford to live in Crown Heights because the prices are too high.
So just to clarify,
Right.
over the last year, there were 3 committees that you had that you don't have this year. It's agriculture, codes, energy, and telecommunications. So I remember when Shirley Chisholm was in Congress and she was given the agriculture committee, they said, why? You're a black woman from Brooklyn. They don't have agriculture. Well, we all knew it was because of the food stamp program.
Right.
But she said, in her wit and wisdom,
Right.
it was because someone heard a tree grows in Brooklyn.
Well,
So,
you're right.
so that was that. But, there's no reason that you were on really agriculture. I mean,
Just let me make a footnote to you, Mark, that he actually was the Lubavitch Rebbe. There's a real story about that.
The Rebbe and Shirley Chisholm, who encouraged her to go to agriculture.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
went to agriculture
Right.
and she bemoaned to the Rebbe, what am I
Right.
going to do, like you're saying? And he says, wow, there's so much food in America. I think they consume even 1/3 of what's produced. So much food in America, and people are going hungry. Well, you have an incredible opportunity to help these people with their food that, and so shouldn't go to, like kids go to bed hungry.
Exactly.
And I just, it's
so
interesting.
he encouraged her
He
to be on the
The Rebbe
agriculture committee.
yes.
Because, I think she was that agriculture committee is, in Washington, is solid for the Midwest. I mean, all these Midwest congressmen
yeah.
want it because that's their lifeblood. So to have someone from Brooklyn and to have a black woman on
Right.
there, I mean, that was historic. So there was
But
more.
they were doing
yeah.
it as a joke
But-
in a way to her because
know.
that was really it.
So that was
like, oh,
good.
you're going to be a nothing,
Yeah.
So that
Right.
was
But she was
so many years
effective.
ago.
Yeah.
But
But
the
anyway.
Rebbe turned it around and
Yeah.
said, wait, you can really be effective.
So-
but I just want to say also, again, I just want to note, just to emphasize, you said it, like you're saying black and whites working together, but it's also, people are not into that. They're just into, working together. We're all people now. And just very few people, I think, are prejudiced in America today. And you see they're working together. But also when Republicans and Democrats, people aren't so, I'm a Republican, get rid of those Democrats, or vice versa. I mean, we want things getting done, work together, and get it done. And that's why you're saying it, but I just want to emphasize to our viewers that
Right.
that's exactly what's happening.
I mean, what's happening in Crown Heights, the good and the bad, Donald Trump had nothing to do with that.
That's right.
He just got into office, so
That's right.
You can't use him as the boogeyman. I mean, things that he's doing now, I can agree to. But as far as the shortage of housing, the quality of education, workforce development, that had nothing to do with Donald Trump in our community. So we have to realize that there are people out there who are making a lot of money, and the working class is being challenged right now in Crown Heights and throughout my district. So I just want people to know that we have to stick together,
Yeah.
regardless of religion, sexual orientation, ethnic background, because the gentrification process is pushing everybody who's been there for the past decade out. My home, the homes in my block now, like 1.5 million. One floor of a brownstone in the basement is renting for $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
Who can afford those prices? And that's what's happening now. So it's a steady push, and people see construction all over the place in Brooklyn. The highest amount of construction with the highest amount of homelessness. How does that happen?
Yeah, I know, that's interesting.
It's an interesting dynamic. You have the most construction ever in Brooklyn, but the highest homeless.
Now, did you talk to your former colleague, Eric Adams, who's now the borough president?
Right.
About this oddity? I mean, have you...
He just came out against the Armory, the borough president, the public advocate, Scott Stringer.
What's the Armory and what...
The Armory is on Union and Bedford Avenue.
Yeah, why would someone come out against it?
Because what they want to do is that you have the Economic Development Corporation say, what do you guys want? Do you want affordable housing? They go, yeah, we want affordable housing. They go, do you want a state-of-the-art rec center? They say, yeah, we want a state-of-the-art rec center. But what they didn't tell the public was that if you get the state-of-the-art rec center, you lose 80% of your affordable housing. You can't have a state-of-the-art rec center being funded through affordable housing. So now they want to sell $1 million condominiums. And so I'm a certified appraiser, I have my MBA in finance, I'm an attorney. I said, there's never been a project with affordable housing with a state-of-the-art rec center with soccer fields and pools and basketball courts. It's because affordable housing can't sustain a state-of-the-art rec center. let someone else run the rec center. So they want to build a rec center. Well, let someone like, say, a Chelsea Piers, or the YMCA, give them a long-term lease, a little bit of money, let them run that, and then have truly affordable housing for the Lubavitch community, for the long-term residents in Crown Heights, because it's free land. And that's what we're fighting with.
So the Armory would be dual use, or what are you supporting?
I'm supporting that the rec center be partitioned from the affordable housing. That the rec center,
Right, but that the Armory be two separate things, that be split in half, where there's a rec center and then there's affordable housing?
right, I mean, you can still.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, the
That's why
people
I'm
in
asking.
affordable housing can still use the rec center. But the way they're proposing it now, you have to decrease by 80% the affordable housing to subsidize the state-of-the-art rec center.
So you're working it out?
We're working it out right now.
Okay, all right. So now you're also on the Education Committee and the Insurance Committee, which you had last year.
Right.
And you're on the Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities Committee.
I was on that. I was a ranker for that.
You're not anymore?
No.
You're not on that committee?
Not on the
You
committee.
have to update your website.
Okay. I'm sorry about
And it
that.
has you at Banks twice on your website.
I
so-
saw that.
Okay.
I'm doubly committed, that's why.
Okay, that's what I figured.
That's what
I
it is,
figured.
Mark, you're right.
So then, but now you're on the Commerce, Economic Development, and Small Business Committee,
Mm-hmm.
and you're on the Consumer Protection, the Crime Victims, Crime and Correction Committee,
Correct.
and then the Judiciary Committee.
Correct.
So like law enforcement is a big deal for you,
Yes.
okay? But Eric Adams was the law enforcement guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was a law enforcement guy.
But what in your background makes you so committed to that law enforcement background?
Well, law enforcement is also protecting people in the community, but it's also protecting those people who go into the criminal justice system.
Do you have a lot of people in your district going through the criminal justice system?
Well, we call it broken windows,
Okay.
where, let's say a young kid's going to school, he doesn't have money for the train, he jumps a turnstile, he doesn't pay, right? He doesn't pay it, it's a warrant for his arrest. He doesn't want to tell his parents, he's embarrassed, but the fine is $170. If you can't pay $2.75, how are you going to pay $170?
Because maybe they're jumping the turnstile just to have fun and just to see if they can get away with something.
Sometimes these kids with the
Is it really a hardship
It's a hardship,
reason that they do it, or are they doing it just to have their
any
kids?
child that's going to school that might get their train pass late or may lose their train pass shouldn't be arrested and charged $170, which they cannot pay. And then if they get stopped again by the police, it's an open warrant, they go into the criminal justice system. And that costs $2,000 just for the arrest and you for go in. Like Khalif Browder, allegedly stole a backpack, never indicted, never convicted, spent 3 years in prison, 2 years in solitary confinement.
Yeah, I know. And then he killed himself
and he killed himself
after he was acquitted.
He was never acquitted. He was never indicted of a crime. He was never convicted of a crime.
No, but they found that he wasn't involved in the crime,
But
so they let him out.
They let him out.
And then he committed suicide afterwards.
So what we're happening is we have these we just passed raise the age, where
Right.
16 and 17-year-olds do not go into a prison with adults. Because you have these young kids going in, their minds are still being formulated. They are 36 times more likely to commit suicide.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah, they're being brutalized in prison, raped, tortured, and they come out 36 more times committing suicide. So not only did the Khalif Browder commit suicide, his mother died like a year later of a broken heart, all over a bill of $3,000. So we're trying to address certain things in broken windows,
Sure.
with people being deported for jumping the turnstile. We have the Immigration Defense Fund, $10 million. So if you go to a deportation hearing without an attorney, it's a 97% chance you'll be deported.
Wow.
So that's the things we're trying to do. So our big thing is policing and broken windows, because why should we spend $70,000, Mark, to incarcerate someone for a year when we could send them to Harvard for $45,000 a year? We're not rehabilitating. When we send kids to prison, they're not being rehabilitated, because you can't get a job when you come out.
No, but
Yeah.
these teenagers, when they go into prison with the veteran prisoners, you might say, that they're learning how to be a criminal for the rest of their lives. If they're in a separate jail or prison with only the 16, 17-year-olds, they're not learning how to become a professional criminal. I mean, I've even known some people who've gone into the Albany County Jail, and they talk about what they're going to do, what crime they're going to do next when they get out, because they like 3 hots and a cot. and they just want to be back in jail. It's a regimented system for them, a society.
Something
And they
that's
really do.
non-violent wouldn't
Right.
even go through.
Yeah,
the
if you're not
family.
violent, at the end of the day, if you're educated properly, you're not committing crimes.
That's
You
right.
know, and that's why we're trying
That's
to. If you have a good education, you're not committing crimes. You know, you come out, you get educated. If there's a job market like this, a lot of people are committing crimes because we have a 50% dropout rate. So
In New York
in New York City, so you have a 50% dropout rate, and we know by the third grade who's not reading that grade level, it's a higher probability that you're going to go to prison. 80% of people in prison don't have a high school diploma, so we know what the problem is. And the solution right now, what I'm introducing, is to have African American curriculum in the schools from kindergarten to the 12th grade. This young lady, she said, Senator, you know, I want to learn more about Black history. It's not about Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and slavery. You know, like the Jewish tradition. You know, we learn so much about the Jewish tradition, about the holidays, about the commerce and the merchants. You know, and I want to follow the same blueprint on the Jewish community, how they do the synagogues and teach their own about their history. That's why you have such a large part of the Jewish population doing well, because from a young age, you are taught that you are a Jewish person, you're somebody, you have a rich heritage, and we're going to teach you about yourself.
I hate to tell you this,
Right.
but there was an episode on this 1970s TV show, Good Times,
Right.
where the youngest son, Michael, came home and said, you know, he was like the militant, you know, he says, there's Black history that, you know, he tells his father, did you know that this person was so great, and this one was so great, and this one was so great? And he says, no, I didn't know. Why should I know that? Because they were all Black.
Right.
And they were all our brothers.
Right.
And, you know, so this has been going on for almost 50 years.
And-
where they've been saying this. And now you're coming to the forefront with a bill
Right.
that says this.
Right.
I mean, where was everyone for the past 50 years? I mean, someone had to write that episode.
Right.
Okay? So
Right.
it was real.
Right.
So in the sense of the words that were put down on paper for this actor to say. That's why I'm not saying it's just a theory or it's just something in entertainment. This was known back 50 years ago.
Exactly, and that's why we need to have not just Black history, but all history
Yeah.
of all the people in our city. Because if you know the rich Jewish history, the rich African American
Right.
history, Caribbean, Arab, we all say, you know what? We all participated to this civilization.
That's right.
And we all need to work in unison and work together. So I think by doing that, you dispel a lot of the rumors.
That's right.
You know, where if I walk down the street without my suit on, people hold their backs. Black and white, because on TV, all you see is negative images, Black men committing crimes, you know, this and that. Upstate is different, but downstate, that's all you see.
Well, in upstate, they see a Black man walking down this street, the white guys will go across the street and walk on the other side. And that's been forever. I mean, that's
Right.
been, you know, you just say that. But I also wanted to ask you about this bill that you're sponsoring. Directing the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles to issue Jamaican bobsled team distinctive plates. License plates for the Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah, man. Big up
What
to my
is-
Jamaican posse.
What is that about?
What's happening?
I mean, there's only 3 of the Jamaican bobsled team. Why do they need a specialty plate?
It's just
cracked
like
up when I saw
my,
that.
my mother-in-law and my father-in-law were born in Jamaica.
All right.
And so I think cultural heritage means something to people, you know, who have cultural pride. We have such a large, like in my district, the largest Caribbean population is Jamaican population. And it's just a lot of Jamaican pride, a lot of Trinidadian pride, a lot of Haitian pride.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Are they going to buy these licenses? I mean, because it costs money to put a bill through the Senate and the Assembly.
Right.
It costs about, what, $2,000-$3,000
Right.
to have it written for time spent. And you got to make sure that there are going to be sales of at least $3,000.
My next
for these
bill is going to be a
specialty
picture of
plates.
the Rebbe also.
There you
So,
go.
right, Rabbi Simon? So my next
There
bill is a
you
picture of the
go.
Rebbe on the license plates. It's going to be a bestseller. You heard it first, right here on your
You'll get
show.
more than-
Yes.
A good one over there.
And now you also have a bill from New York Microgrids Act, and that's really important because the governor just announced that the Empire State Plaza, the government center in Albany, is going to be a microgrid. So tell me about this, that you're ahead of the curve on this, that you developed this bill. Did the governor take this idea from you, and
Well, the governor.
did you talk to him about
The
it?
governor's done a lot of things with the microgrid. Also with the Central Vital Brooklyn, he's putting $1.4 billion into Brooklyn, Vital
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
right.
And basically it's based off our campus. So the governor has insight about the infrastructure, about energy and technology.
Right.
And that's why I think the governor is going to become a great president. You heard it here on the show.
Okay.
Right here.
First one over here.
First
We got a
one.
scoop
We got a
over
scoop
here.
on it.
2020, okay.
In 2020. So the governor is doing a lot of great things.
Yeah, but talk about microgrids instead of the governor.
Right,
okay?
right.
Talk about the bill, talk about what it does, you know, and why you think it warrants to have a bill that says the New York Microgrids Act. I mean,
Well, right now, energy is important into
That's right.
into our. And I was on. I'm
last year you were on the energy.
I'm on the energy committee. I just saw Griffo tonight.
Okay.
And right now, we're gonna see a lot of energy needs that are coming into.
And the microgrids, for those who are uninitiated, do what?
It helps them get energy into the area. So the microgrids is something new. It's my bill, and I think it's going to be great.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Very much.
There you go.
All right. Well, when you figure out what the bill is, you can tell us, come back and tell us on
Right.
the show. What about the Banking Consumer Protection Act of 2017?
The Banking Consumer Protection Act is something that's a lot of people. We have the usury rate in New York State is 25%, and right now what we're having with the fintech companies, they're bringing in. You know, you watch on TV now. You have Turbo Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, all these companies are coming in to New York State, and no one's really regulating them. The OCC is not really regulating the fintech company. We had a hearing yesterday
Right.
with the superintendent Vullo, Department of Financial Services, because a lot of companies now want to offer 30%, 36% interest rates.
Really? That's incredible.
That's incredible. So we're looking at it. What's happening now? The banks are pulling back.
Right.
We have predatory lenders at one
Right.
point in time. Then the banks are pulling back, and we have what I call shadow banking.
Right.
But the banks pull back, other companies come in, and they're offering financial services that are really not, they're predatory. Like Rent-A-Center, you can pay 150% for a television set. You can go to a pawn
They're
shop.
legally predatory.
Legally predatory.
That's right.
Then you can go to a pawn shop, legally predatory. They can charge you 40 to 50%
Right.
on a product. So we have legal predatory lenders.
Okay, so-
And now we have, we're hoping the federal government doesn't give special charters to the fintech companies who don't have brick and mortar. So they don't really come under the banking jurisdiction. And the superintendent feels that they should not give special charters, that the states should be able to give charters to these fintech companies to hold them accountable under the usury rates of New
Now,
York State.
this has been in the Senate Banks Committee that you chair since January 13th. You can't get this bill out of your own Banks Committee? This should have been passed already.
No, we're working on it within the.
What's going on with this?
The next 2 weeks, we're coming to the end now.
Yeah.
The main focus was the raise the age, which we got raised. We had the hearing yesterday to hear from all the sides about consumer protection.
Okay.
And my sense of it is that.
So you're not holding up your own bill?
No.
Because I never heard of a chairman having
No,
a
no,
bill
no, no.
caught up in his own committee for this long.
No, it'll be coming out within the next few weeks, and we're going to be voting on it. Yes,
Okay, and you hope it'll at least pass the Senate?
it will pass the Senate.
Any assembly sponsor?
I don't know. I know I have a same answer. I just can't remember off the
Okay.
top of my head. I got so many
Who
bills
it
coming
is,
out.
Yeah, I didn't get,
Yeah.
okay. And I should have done my homework better. Okay. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up on the show that we didn't know enough to ask?
Well,
I always
just-
ask that question.
I'm always happy to be here on the
No,
show.
but I
with you,
always
Mike.
ask the question because there might be something that's on the tip of your tongue that when you walk off the set, you say, oh, wish we talked about this. And I just wanted to give you the open floor.
No,
Just
I'm just happy to be the chair of the banking committee.
Right.
I'm happy to be fighting for affordable housing in Crown Heights for everybody, including the Lubavitch community.
Okay.
And I'm just thankful that you giving me the idea to have license plates for the Rebbe
Okay.
in Crown Heights. And so
Heard it here first.
you heard it here first. That's my next bill. Watch me.
Okay.
We're going to have license plates for the Rebbe. It's going to take off.
Okay.
And we heard it first.
Now I have to ask you this other question. Do we have time?
1
Okay.
minute.
Oh, this is not, okay. What's your take on this whole thing? Because you're not involved in this with the chair and the vice chairs and the deputy chairs and all the stuff that's going on in the Senate with possibly improper filing to the controller, the vice chair was the chair.
It's a witch hunt. It's basically something to make news, because let's say if I am the leader of the Senate, I get a stipend, let's say of 40,000, let's say 35,000, right? But I also might be a chair of a committee, right? But you can't take two stipends. So you either take the 35,000 for being the chair of the Senate, or you could take the $15,000 for being chair of education. So you choose a higher chair.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. So now that $15,000 for the chair of education is just sitting there.
Right.
So why not have a vice chair who can get that
Because
stipend?
there was no procedure that was passed or nothing that was passed that said that that would be the way it would be?
You could look at it from that perspective, but there was a stipend created,
Right.
and should it just not go to anyone?
Is it at the discretion of the majority leader of who that stipend goes to?
Yes. The majority leader has the discretion
Okay,
to
so I
say,
think that then someone brought up that when the paperwork was filed with the Senate, with the controller, that it was put down as chair and not vice chair, and the controller signed off because it said the right words on the paperwork. I don't know for sure, I didn't see the paperwork.
it could be semantics. You know, the word chair is still in there, right? So you're still a
Okay.
chair of the committee, meaning that there's two people aren't getting the same stipend.
Yeah.
Only one person is getting the stipend
Yeah, right.
because the other person, the chairperson, is getting another stipend. So
Right, there's no double dipping.
there's
or
no
anything
double
like
dipping.
that.
That's
Right.
it, Mark. You see, there's no double dipping.
Well, I rolled my eyes when I saw this story, but I
Right.
wanted to get your take on it, your view. And,
Right, there's
and-
no,
and-
you hit it right on the head. There's no double dipping. If there was double dipping, then I can see someone arguing that point. But there's no double dipping, and we work 7 days a week. I work 7 days a week.
So you're not embarrassed by this story coming out? or-
No, I'm not embarrassed.
Okay.
I'm not embarrassed at all.
And it doesn't impact you personally, that's why I'm asking
No, it
you,
doesn't- it
because
doesn't-
it's not a shot at you, it's just for the body as a...
As a body as a whole, the state senate is one of the most dedicated people that I know.
Yeah.
They travel from home 4 days a week.
They-
They get less money than the city council, who don't go anywhere, and we're on the leading legislative body in the state of New York. You know, so, and we work 7 days a week. So to all my colleagues in the Senate who are doing a great job, you're underpaid, you're overworked, your families love you, you're always away from home. So reporters have had to make news, and they're not happy and so they have to always create a story.
Well, like the rabbi would say that, they're under pressure, these reporters, because they got to validate their jobs to their editors.
But you're not under
And-
pressure here, right?
You
You
know,
know,
We're nice people over here.
People here.
This is right at time.
But that's one of my gripes
Right.
with my colleagues, with journalists
Right.
at the Capitol, is that they sometimes just have these made-up stories.
Thanks so much. Shalom.
You know?
Yeah, Shalom, you're
Okay.
doing a great job
Thank you,
for
Rabbi.
not only the
Shalom.
people in
Yes.
Crown Heights, but for
Yes.
the whole Lubavitch community.
Much success.
Rebbe license plates, you heard it right here, coming to Crown
And
Heights.
Governor 2020 running for president.
Exactly.
Okay. Now,
That's it.